If you are looking at the digital landscape right now, deep in the trenches of 2025, and moving pretty rapidly into 2026 and feeling this profound sense of operational vertigo, you're entirely justified.
Oh, totally. Vertigo
Right.
is the perfect word for it.
Right, because we're seeing this relentless, just compounding cycle of new models dropping, autonomous agents, workflow integrations. It feels like a new paradigm every single morning.
It does. It's overwhelming.
It's the AI gold rush.
Right.
And the sheer velocity of it is causing a lot of paralysis for people. But the reality, and really the core focus of our deep dive today, is that the window for meaningful, life-changing leverage is actually still wide open.
What's fascinating here is the historical parallel. We are in what you could classify as the early late stage of this specific technology cycle.
Early, late. Okay, unpack that.
Yeah, so if you compare it to the mobile revolution, right? We
Right.
aren't in 2007 when the iPhone just launched and people were downloading those weird novelty applications.
The lighter app, the
Yeah.
beer drinking app.
Exactly. We're past that. We're in roughly 2011. The App Store is established. The infrastructure is completely solid. The models are highly capable. But the massive industry-defining businesses built natively on this tech urge, the Ubers and the Instagrams of the AI era, they're still being formed, or they haven't even been conceptualized yet.
So the technical barrier to entry has basically evaporated.
Completely. But the execution gap, the gap between having the tool and knowing how to build a business with it, remains massive.
Which means the premium is entirely on implementation. And that's exactly what we're doing today. Our mission for this deep dive is to bridge that exact gap for you.
We've got a lot of ground to cover.
We really do. We are synthesizing a massive stack of intelligence today. We've got a comprehensive 27-method tactical guide by ALM Court, and that is focused entirely on AI monetization.
Super tactical stuff.
Yeah. And we're cross-referencing that with deep industry reports from Epidemic Sound and Flatline Agency regarding the creator economy and e-commerce. Plus, we have strategic tool and legal breakdowns from Evintiv and Nearstream.
And we can't forget the architectural blueprints from Marketing Against the Grain.
Right. And critically, because we have to cut through the theoretical hype here, we are analyzing raw, unfiltered reports from Reddit builder communities and the very real existential concerns of solopreneur Justin Welsh.
It's a remarkable cross-section of data because it forces us to look at the entire life cycle. We aren't just looking at the tools, we're looking at the unit economics of using them, the legal liabilities they create, and honestly, the psychological impact on the founders who are operating them.
Exactly. So the overarching mission here is to hand you a highly practical, stress-tested blueprint. By the end of this deep dive, you should have a clear architectural map to leverage these models, whether you're scaling a venture-backed startup, running a local agency, or just bootstrapping a side project on the weekends.
We're going to map the tech, flag the legal landmines, and figure out how to maintain that human leverage that the algorithms just can't replicate.
Let's dive right in. The best place to ground this is actually in the fundamental shift in startup economics. Because the numbers we're seeing, they fundamentally rewrite the rules of business creation.
They really do. It's staggering.
Let's look at the baseline math from that Marketing Against the Grain source. Historically, if you had a lean 5-person startup trying to find product market fit, what's your burn rate?
It's huge.
It's roughly $470,000 annually. You're paying for a junior developer, a marketer, a designer, a sales rep, plus payroll taxes, software seats, basic infrastructure.
Right. Just to keep the lights on while you figure out if your idea even works.
Exactly. Now compare that to the AI-powered solopreneur model operating right now in 2026. The estimated operational burn rate for a highly capable single-operator business.
This is the part that blows my mind.
$345 a month.
When you drop the cost of launching a software or service business from nearly $500,000 a year to roughly $4,000 a year, you completely remove the requirement for venture capital.
You just don't need it.
Right. And if you don't need VC money, you don't dilute your equity, you don't have board meetings dictating your product roadmap, and you avoid all that internal coordination friction of managing a 5-person team.
The single operator just has this massive asymmetric advantage in speed. You can ship daily instead of quarterly.
Exactly. And the source details a highly specific 7-tool technical architecture to pull this off. It's inspired by Elena Verna, who, for context, famously built a 9-funnel business with an incredibly lean team.
So let's actually deconstruct this $345 stack, because this is the engine driving the economic shift for you. At the top of the stack, serving as the central nervous system, is Claude projects.
And the distinction between standard Claude and Claude projects is super critical here.
Yeah, it's not just a chat window.
No, exactly. You aren't just opening a fresh chat every morning and starting from absolute zero. Claude Projects lets you upload a massive amount of persistent context. Your brand guidelines, your historical customer data, code-based architecture, strategic objectives, it all stays there.
So it acts as the high-level operational brain.
Right. When you ask it to generate a marketing strategy, it's not guessing. It is referencing the specific nuances of your existing business logic.
Okay, so Claude defines the strategy. Then the execution moves to the development layer. The stack utilizes a tool called Lovable Acting as the primary developer, and that's paired with Cursor for the custom code refinement.
Yep.
Now, I understand Cursor is essentially an AI-first IDE and integrated development environment, but how do Lovable and Cursor actually interact in a real daily workflow?
Think of Lovable as your rapid prototyper, your scaffolding builder. You feed it a natural language prompt, and it spins up the foundational structure of a web application. The database schema, the user authentication flow, the basic front end.
It gets you from 0 to 80% instantly.
Literally instantly.
Right.
But software is never perfect out of the box, right?
Never.
You always need custom business logic, and that is where Cursor comes in. You open that Lovable generated code base inside Cursor, which has deep contextual awareness of all your files.
So it knows how everything connects.
Exactly. You can highlight a specific function, hit Command-K, and just tell the AI, hey, rewrite this API call to handle rate limits more aggressively. The AI writes the code, you review the diff, and you merge it.
You are effectively acting as a product manager overseeing a senior engineer.
That's exactly the dynamic.
Okay, moving down the stack. The connective tissue holding all these apps together is Make.com. It handles the API routing, the data automation, and then for revenue generation, the stack deploys Clay.com as the entire outbound sales department.
Clay is incredibly powerful.
It is, but this is where I have a massive point of friction.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If Clay is just scraping LinkedIn and automatically blasting out 1,000 emails a day, isn't this just a highly efficient way to become a spam cannon and permanently burn your domain reputation?
Yes. That is the exact trap amateur operators fall into. And it's why the sophisticated use of Clay is so lucrative. The strategy with Clay isn't volume, it's hyper-personalized waterfall enrichment.
Walk me through that.
So instead of pulling a generic list of thousands of founders and hitting send, a smart operator configures Clay to monitor a highly specific signal. For example, it watches for companies that just posted a job listing for a senior AI engineer. And it watches to see if that role has been open for more than 60 days.
Okay, that's a very specific pain point.
Exactly. Then Clay uses AI to read the company's recent blog posts, summarizes their current technical challenges, and drafts an email to the CTO. It says something like, I see you've been struggling to fill that AI role for 2 months while trying to launch your new predictive model. Our agency specializes in bridging that exact gap.
Wow, that is a fundamental difference. A human sales rep would take, what, 45 minutes to research and write that single email?
At least.
The system is doing it in seconds. But the quality of the outreach is completely indistinguishable from deep manual research.
Precisely. You're automating the intelligence gathering, not just the sending mechanism.
That makes total sense. Rounding out the stack, we have Midjourney and Canva replacing the visual design department, and Perplexity acting as the research analyst, synthesizing data and providing cited, factual answers rather than just handing you a list of blue links.
It's a robust setup.
It is. It's beautiful on paper, but we have to ground this in reality.
Yeah, the Reddit reality check.
Exactly. Because when we dive into the Reddit automation builder communities, the people who are actually running these systems day to day in 2025 and 2026 are hitting severe scalability walls.
The universal consensus there is pretty clear. Traditional visual automation tools, specifically Zapier, become financially toxic at scale.
Financially toxic. I love that phrasing. But why? Zapier's everywhere.
It is, and it's the classic scaling penalty. Zapier is brilliant for that 0 to 1 phase because the interface is incredibly intuitive. Anyone can use it. But they charge per task or per action.
Okay, so every step costs you.
Right. So when you build a complex workflow, say, an AI agent that monitors a customer support inbox, it reads the email, categorizes the sentiment, queries a database for an answer, drafts a reply, and updates your CRM. That single process might consume 8 tasks per email.
And if a video goes viral.
Exactly. You get 10,000 emails, and suddenly you have an astronomical API bill that completely wipes out your margins.
So what are these builders doing? The Reddit community seems to heavily advocate migrating away from Zapier once you hit that growth curve. They're moving toward NAN or Make.com for better cost control.
Yeah, Make is way more generous with their operations, but there was one specific highly technical anecdote in that thread that I think perfectly illustrates the bleeding edge of this space.
Oh, the Cloudflare guy.
Yes. So this user was paying roughly $300 a month for a bloated Zapier workflow. They ripped the entire thing out and rebuilt it using a combination of Cloudflare Workers and Gemini Flash.
And what did that do to the cost?
It brought their total operational cost down to under $20 a month.
From 300 to 20? That is insane.
That specific architecture is fascinating because it represents a maturation in how solopreneurs are approaching infrastructure. Cloudflare Workers essentially run your code at the edge of the network, meaning on servers physically close to the user, and they are incredibly cheap to execute.
And the user specifically noted that these workers are stateful.
Right. In simple terms, that means the system can remember information between steps without needing to constantly read and write to a heavy, expensive external database.
And pairing that edge computing with Gemini Flash is a very deliberate choice, right? Because Flash is optimized for speed and low cost, not necessarily deep philosophical reasoning.
Exactly. You don't need a massive reasoning model for simple routing tasks. This user actually built a Telegram bot as their control interface.
So they're just texting their infrastructure.
Yes, they're texting commands from their phone. The Cloudflare worker instantly processes the stateful logic, pings Gemini Flash for a quick language task, and fires the result right back to their phone.
What's truly insightful about that Reddit thread, though, is the broader critique of visual automation builders in general.
The spaghetti problem.
Right. When you have a massive Make or Zapier workflow with 50 interconnected nodes, those little visual boxes on the screen, and something breaks. Debugging it is an absolute nightmare.
Visualizing the failure point in a web of 50 lines is incredibly tedious.
It's the digital equivalent of trying to find the single dead bulb in a massive string of tangled Christmas lights. The whole string goes dark, and you're forced to test every single node.
That is a perfect analogy. By moving the logic into code via Cloudflare Workers, the user eliminates all that visual clutter. They can read the error logs directly.
But wait, doesn't writing code defeat the purpose of no-code tools?
Normally, yes. But because AI tools like Cursor can now write and debug that JavaScript for them, the barrier to managing code-based infrastructure has basically vanished. You get the power of a bespoke engineering setup without needing a computer science degree.
That is a massive paradigm shift. Another engineer in that same thread brought up a really important concept, the necessity of a thinking layer. They specifically mentioned tools like Tensy AI. The argument was that feeding raw, unstructured triggers directly into a large language model is just a massive waste of compute.
This is a major optimization secret that separates the pros from the amateurs. Most business processes are 80% rigid logic and 20% creative reasoning.
Give me an example.
Okay, if a customer emails asking for a refund, you do not need a massive, expensive model like GPT-4 to read the email and decide what to do.
Right, because the policy is the policy.
Exactly. You need a thinking layer, a pre-processing script. That script scans the text, identifies the word refund, checks the database to see if the purchase is within the 30-day window. And only then does it trigger a small, cheap AI model to draft the polite approval or denial email.
So you're structuring the constraints and the logic before you even hit the AI.
Yes. It saves an enormous amount of money and prevents the model from hallucinating a policy that doesn't exist.
Okay, so we've established the infrastructure. We have the $345 stack. We have the thinking layer. But the ultimate question for anyone listening right now is, how do you actually extract revenue from this stack?
The fun part.
Exactly, which leads us directly into the ALM Corp Guide. They categorize the AI economy into 3 distinct tiers of operators. You've got Tier 1, which is the service provider, generating between $1,000 and $10,000 a month. Tier 2 is the product creator, scaling from $5,000 to $50,000. And Tier 3 is the business builder, pushing from $20,000 up to $500,000 a month or more.
The tier system is vital for managing expectations. The vast majority of people listening need to cut their teeth in Tier 1.
A service provider.
Right. The mechanism here is surprisingly simple. You utilize AI tools to deliver traditional digital services at an unprecedented speed and profit margin. You aren't inventing a new product. You are arbitraging the efficiency gain.
Arbitraging the efficiency gain. I love that. The ALM source provides incredibly granular case studies for this. Let's examine Tom. Tom has built a specialized service focusing exclusively on local SEO for law firms.
It's a great niche.
It is. But a skeptical listener might ask, look, if every law firm can just open ChatGPT and write a blog post about personal injury law in 10 seconds, why on earth are they paying Tom $1,800 a month?
Because execution and strategy are entirely different from mere text generation. The law firm doesn't know which keywords have high commercial intent but low search volume in their specific zip code. They don't know how to structure the headers for Google's latest algorithm update.
So Tom isn't selling text.
No. He is selling lead generation. He uses ChatGPT for the content drafting, sure, but he pairs it tightly with Surfer SEO. Surfer analyzes the top-ranking pages for a specific query and provides a rigid framework of natural language processing terms that absolutely must be included to rank.
So Tom takes the structural data from Surfer, feeds it into his customized Claude or ChatGPT prompt chain, generates the article, refines it, and publishes.
And he also manages their Google business profiles and tracks the analytics via SEMrush.
And because the AI is handling the heavy lifting of the initial drafts and keyword clustering, Tom can personally manage 9 law firm accounts simultaneously. He is generating $16,200 a month, working roughly 30 hours a week.
Think about the traditional agency model for a second. Servicing 9 aggressive law firms would require at least a full-time account manager, a dedicated copywriter, and an SEO specialist.
But his payroll cost is 0.
The profit margin is staggering.
Yeah.
And we see the exact same dynamic in social media management. The guide highlights Jessica. She operates a highly targeted agency managing Instagram and TikTok presences exclusively for local beauty salons and medical spas.
Another great niche. She charges $1,400 a month per client, and the deliverables for that $1,400 are substantial. She's providing 20 feed posts, 5 short-form videos like Reels or TikToks, daily story updates, and managing the community comments.
Doing that manually for one client takes hours.
Doing it for 11 clients is physically impossible for one person without massive automation.
Her workflow is a complete masterclass in batching. She sits down, feeds the salon's seasonal promotions into a language model to generate 30 days of caption variations and visual hooks.
All at once.
All at once. Then she moves to Canva Pro, and Canva utilizes its own internal AI features to instantly resize and reformat those visual assets across different aspect ratios for stories, feeds, everything.
And for video.
For the video content, she uses CapCut's AI templates to auto-sync B-roll footage of the salon to trending audio on TikTok. She can architect an entire month of multi-platform content for a single client in under 8 hours.
And with 11 clients, she's clearing over $15,000 a month in recurring revenue. Just incredibly efficient. Another model outlined in the source is conversational AI development. We have David, who targets local dental practices. He charges an $800 initial setup fee and a $200 monthly retainer.
And what's he building for them?
He builds custom knowledge-based chatbots using no-code platforms like VoiceFlow or Chatbase.
Dental practices are the perfect target for this. Think about their front desk staff. They are constantly overwhelmed by the exact same 3 questions all day long.
Do you take my insurance? Are you open on Saturdays? How do I book a cleaning?
Exactly. So David scrapes the dentist's existing website, uploads their specific insurance fee schedules and intake PDFs directly into the chat-based knowledge base. And then he deploys a bot that handles 60% of the front desk inquiry volume autonomously.
He has 15 practices on retainer right now. The setup takes a few hours, but the ongoing monthly maintenance is practically 0.
If we synthesize Tom, Jessica, and David, the strategic imperative for you listening is remarkably clear. Absolute niche domination.
This is the critical takeaway, isn't it?
Yes. Being an AI automation agency in 2026 is a race to the bottom. You are competing globally on price. Someone will always do it cheaper.
But when Tom positions himself as the SEO guy for personal injury lawyers in the Midwest, he completely isolates himself from generalist competition.
He learns the specific compliance language lawyers must use. Jessica learns the exact visual aesthetic a medical spa needs to project. The deeper you go into a specific vertical, the more valuable your specialized AI workflows become, because they're tailored to a highly specific business outcome.
The ALM guide explicitly calls out 2 mindset shifts required to actually operate at this level. The first is prioritizing speed over certainty.
This is a tough one for perfectionists.
It really is. We're operating in an environment where the half-life of a software tool might be 6 months. If you spend 3 months building the perfect workflow, the underlying API might completely change before you even launch.
You have to be comfortable shipping imperfect, functional systems and iterating live.
The second shift is prioritizing value creation over tool obsession.
Oh, this is so common. It is incredibly easy to fall down the rabbit hole of testing every new open source model that drops on Hugging Face.
Right, you're constantly tinkering.
But look at the local dentist paying David $200 a month. That dentist does not care if the chatbot is running on an optimized Llama 3 instance or standard GPT-4.
Not at all.
They only care that the patient successfully book the Tuesday morning cleaning. The client pays for the business result, not the complexity of your technical architecture.
That distinction is so vital. Okay, let's transition from the service layer to the product and brand layer. Because if you are launching a net new consumer brand or an e-commerce play right now in 2025 or 2026, the foundational requirements have been completely upended.
Completely. The Flatline Agency Insights specifically focus on this. They're calling it the Shopify Winter 26 edition, which they've dubbed the Renaissance Update.
Renaissance. Clever.
Yeah.
What does that actually mean for the operator?
The term flatline is using to describe the near future of e-commerce is unified commerce. For years, AI in e-commerce just meant, a clunky product recommendation widget at the bottom of a checkout page.
Customers also bought this.
Right. But what we're seeing now is AI becoming the operational core. Unified commerce means your inventory management system, your marketing channels, your customer data platform, and your dynamic pricing models are all continuously talking to each other and adjusting autonomously.
So it's a closed loop. Give me a real-world scenario.
Sure. If a specific SKU, say, a certain jacket starts trending on TikTok, the system automatically adjusts the ad spend to capitalize on the trend. It dynamically raises the price by 2%, and it reorders inventory from the supplier, all without human intervention.
That is wild. And the speed at which you can build the consumer-facing brand to sit on top of that intelligent backend is just staggering now. AV and Heavy V and Flatline broke down the modern visual identity stack. Let's walk through the timeline of building a brand from scratch today.
It used to take months.
Right. Historically, if you needed a custom digital storefront, you spent weeks sketching wireframes, arguing over user flows, and then eventually handing it to a front-end developer. Today, the starting point is a tool like UIZard.
UIZard basically compresses the entire conceptual phase. You can literally draw a rough layout on a physical piece of paper like on a napkin. Take a photo with your phone, and UIZard will convert that sketch into a high-fidelity interactive digital wireframe.
Just from a photo of a sketch.
Yes. It populates it with placeholder components and allows you to test the user flow immediately. It kills the massive latency between having an idea and seeing it visually represented.
And once that wireframe is validated, you move to the actual build phase using a platform like Framer. Framer is fascinating to me because it's a hybrid approach. It isn't a magical black box that spits out a generic, uneditable template.
Right, it's not Wix from 2015.
Exactly. It provides a professional, React-based visual editor, but weaves AI assistance throughout the interface. So if you need a complex animation or a specific responsive layout, you just prompt the AI within the canvas, it generates the component, and you retain total pixel-level control to refine it.
But before you even build the site, you need the brand identity itself. The Avon InTV source explores tools like Luca and Namelix, which are excellent for rapid generation of logos and domain-cleared names.
But the underlying mechanism that makes a brand truly resonant goes a lot deeper than a neat vector graphic, and that is where Galaxy.ai comes into the conversation.
Galaxy is trying to solve a very specific problem.
Right, because my immediate pushback on generating a logo with AI is that it's going to look completely sterile. If everyone is using the exact same latent space to generate their branding, doesn't everything just blend into this homogenized corporate aesthetic?
That is the exact problem Galaxy.ai addresses. It moves beyond simple visual generation and attempts to codify brand strategy.
How does it do that?
It prompts the founder to define the core psychological archetype of the business. Are you the rebel, the caregiver, the magician? It synthesizes those strategic positioning frameworks, analyzes the target demographic, and then generates visual concepts, typography choices, and messaging pillars that actually align with that specific emotional resonance.
So it's trying to replicate the discovery phase of a high-end branding agency.
Exactly.
Okay, so once the brand identity and the storefront are established, an e-commerce operation needs assets. High-quality product photography used to require booking a studio, hiring lighting technicians, spending days in post-production. Now we are looking at massive catalog management tools like Pebbly and Clay.ai.
The workflow transformation here is immense for e-commerce. With Pebbly, a direct-to-consumer brand can take a single, flatly lit photograph of a skincare bottle taken on a smartphone.
Just a basic photo.
Just a basic photo. They upload it, and the AI accurately analyzes the physical dimensions, the shadows, the reflections. You can then prompt it to place that exact bottle on a sunlit marble countertop in Santorini for a summer campaign.
And it looks photorealistic.
Completely. And then you can instantly regenerate it sitting on frosted glass surrounded by pine needles for the holiday push.
That saves thousands of dollars per shoot.
Easily. And for enterprise-scale operations dealing with thousands of SKUs, Clay.ai is the engine. If a marketplace is aggregating products from hundreds of different vendors, the photography is naturally going to be a chaotic mess. Different lighting, different backgrounds, terrible resolutions.
A nightmare for consistency.
Total nightmare. Clay.ai processes the entire catalog autonomously. It standardizes the background, fixes the white balance, upscales low-resolution images, and creates a perfectly unified visual presentation across the entire platform.
And we cannot discuss visual assets without addressing the most critical performance metric in digital media today: the thumbnail. The near-stream source is essentially a masterclass on this specific asset.
The thumbnail is everything. The stakes here are binary.
They really are.
Yeah.
You can spend $10,000 producing a brilliant video or a product demonstration, but if the thumbnail fails to capture attention in the feed, the content effectively does not exist. Nearstream's data highlights that 90% of the top-performing videos across platforms utilize custom, highly engineered thumbnails.
The metric they focus on heavily is the click-through rate. A highly optimized thumbnail can boost that metric by up to 70%.
70%?
Yeah. And when the algorithm sees a high percentage of people stopping their scroll and clicking, it aggressively pushes that content to a wider audience. The thumbnail is the lever that triggers the algorithmic virality.
The source categorizes the toolsets for this into tiers. For operators on a strict budget, tools like Photor, Canva, and PixlrX are the baseline. PixlrX is particularly notable because it brings complex, layer-based editing and masking features you typically pay a premium for in Adobe Photoshop directly into a free web browser interface.
And moving up a tier, we see the introduction of specialized AI automated tools like Thumbnail.ai and Designs.ai.
These platforms are fascinating because they are trained specifically on high-performing YouTube data.
Right. They analyze the text of your video title, identify the core subject, and auto-generate compositions specifically designed to trigger psychological curiosity. Designs.ai will even ingest your specific brand color hex codes and fonts to ensure the generated images remain completely on brand.
And for enterprise brands or massive creator channels, the workflow shifts to Adobe Express or Visme, which handle complex data visualizations and dynamic templates. But honestly, regardless of whether you're using a free browser tool or an enterprise suite, Nearstream identifies immutable visual hierarchy rules you absolutely must follow.
The anatomy of a high-converting thumbnail is surprisingly rigid.
What are the rules?
First, high-contrast color palettes are mandatory. Saturated reds, vibrant yellows, dark whites. They cut through the dark mode interfaces of modern applications.
Because everyone is in dark mode now.
Exactly. Second is textual economy. You must restrict the text on the image to 3 to 6 words maximum. Because the image's job is to create an unresolved question or an emotional spike. The video title's job is to provide the context. If you put the whole context in the image, there's no mystery left to click on.
That makes sense. And the final, most crucial element.
Close-up faces displaying intense emotional expressions.
Oh, the classic YouTube face.
It works for a reason. Humans are biologically hardwired to process facial expressions faster than any other visual data. When a viewer scrolling at high speed sees a face expressing shock, confusion, or joy, their mirror neurons fire, causing a micropause in their scrolling.
And that fraction of a second is all you need to win the click.
Exactly. That reliance on human emotion actually is the perfect bridge into the current state of the creator economy.
Let's pull from the Epidemic Sound 2025 report, because it reveals a massive professionalization of the space.
The numbers are definitive. 98% of active creators now report having strict, quantifiable business goals. The era of the hobbyist just uploading random vlogs is completely over. They're operating as highly leveraged media companies.
Furthermore, 95% are aggressively pivoting toward direct-to-fan monetization models. They're launching private communities, selling digital products, building email lists, all to insulate themselves from unpredictable algorithmic shifts on the major platforms.
To operate at that scale, the modern creator has become a multi-hyphenate. They're acting as the creative director, the lead writer, the video editor, the data analyst, and the community manager.
It's a recipe for burnout.
It is. And to survive that workload, 91% of them are deeply integrating AI into their daily operational workflows.
There is one specific statistic in the Epidemic Sound Report that really caught my attention regarding the anatomy of successful content. 94% of creators explicitly attribute the success and emotional resonance of their content directly to their music choices.
It isn't just background filler. It's the emotional architecture of the video.
And historically, high-quality audio has been a massive bottleneck. Licensing popular music is prohibitively expensive. Dealing with copyright strikes is a total nightmare. And hiring a custom composer for a Tuesday YouTube video simply doesn't fit the unit economics.
This immense demand for cheap, high-quality, legally safe audio has created a massive secondary market for AI generation.
Connecting this back to the ALM Core Monetization Guide, operators are stepping in to fill this exact void. We're seeing the rise of tools like AIVA, which specializes in generating complex cinematic orchestral compositions, and SoundDraw, which allows users to generate customizable royalty-free tracks based on specific moods, tempos, and genres.
Operators are spending a few hours generating massive libraries of lo-fi hip-hop or tension-building corporate tracks and licensing them in bulk to these creators.
But the vocal synthesis side of the audio market is even more lucrative. The ALM Guide profiles Greg. He operates a highly profitable business as an audiobook narrator without actually recording his own voice.
So basically, Greg is the ultimate digital middleman. He's getting paid $11,000 a month to direct a robot to read a book and telling it when to take a breath.
That is a hilarious way to frame it, but the technical execution is quite rigorous.
It is. Let's look at the margins. The standard industry rate for a human audiobook narrator ranges from $200 to over $400 per finished hour of audio.
It's expensive because it's hard work. It requires a soundproof studio, incredible vocal stamina, days of editing out mouth clicks.
Right. Greg undercuts the market slightly, charging around $150 to $250 a finished hour. He achieves that margin using 11 Labs, which currently leads the industry in emotional range and realistic voice cloning.
But the critical detail for anyone thinking this is easy money is that he doesn't just upload a 300-page manuscript, hit generate, and send the raw file to the author.
Exactly. If you do that, the AI will inevitably mispronounce complex words, hallucinate a weird inflection during a line of dialogue, or rush through a dramatic pause. It's unlistenable.
So what's his actual workflow?
Greg acts as the audio director. He generates the audio in small, manageable chapters. He then imports those raw audio files into a traditional digital audio workstation, like Audacity or Premiere. He manually adjusts the pacing. He splices in natural-sounding breaths.
He adds breaths.
Yes, to make it sound human. He ensures the volume normalization is perfect, and he regenerates any sentences where the AI failed to capture the correct emotional subtext.
He's combining the infinite stamina and speed of the AI model with the critical quality control of a human editor. And because the AI is doing the raw vocalization, his output capacity is massive. He's producing 15 to 20 finished hours of audio a month, resulting in a highly profitable operation.
Okay, we've spent a significant amount of time detailing how to build infrastructure, generate assets, and extract revenue. But we need to impose a hard reality check on this conversation.
Yes, the dark side.
Operating in this environment carries significant, often unacknowledged risk.
This is where we need to dive into the AVIN to vSource, because they outline the legal gray zones currently surrounding AI generation. If an operator or a brand ignores these, they can face catastrophic liability.
As we navigate 2025 and 2026, there are three distinct legal traps that are actively destroying businesses. The first, and honestly the most misunderstood, is the issue of copyright eligibility. The United States Copyright Office has established a firm precedent. A creative work generated solely by a machine is not eligible for copyright protection.
That feels like a massive blind spot for new founders. If I spend 2 weeks crafting the most complex, perfect prompt in Midjourney and it generates an incredible, distinct logo for my new unified commerce brand, I do not legally own that image.
Under current interpretations, no. You cannot claim exclusive ownership over the raw outputs of an algorithmic process. For a work to be protected by copyright, there must be a demonstrable, significant human contribution to the final creative expression.
So if you simply use the raw Midjourney file as your core brand identity, a competitor could theoretically copy it, use it for their own brand, and you would have incredibly limited legal recourse to stop them.
Exactly.
What constitutes a significant human contribution? If I take that AI logo and change the color to blue in Photoshop, is that enough?
It's entirely subjective and handled on a case-by-case basis, which is exactly why it's a legal minefield. Simply changing a color likely isn't enough. Using the AI image as a rough base layer and heavily repainting, restructuring, and modifying it manually gives you a much stronger legal footing.
That leads directly into the second major trap, trademark conflicts.
Right. When you ask a language model to brainstorm 20 catchy brand names for your new sauce product, or ask an image generator for a minimalist geometric logo, those systems are not cross-referencing the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office databases.
They have no concept of existing legal protections.
None. The model might generate a name or a visual mark that is functionally identical to a registered protected trademark in your specific industry.
And if you blindly adopt that generated brand identity, print it on your packaging, launch your website, you are walking face first into a cease and desist order.
And a forced rebrand post-launch is one of the most expensive, damaging events a new business can endure. You lose all your accumulated brand equity overnight.
The third legal trap outlined in the Avon TV source is the training data black box.
The foundational models powering these tools were trained by scraping billions of parameters of data from the open internet. In many cases, this data included copyrighted artwork, proprietary code bases, and protected literature.
And the platforms often obscure exactly what data resides in their training sets.
Right. If you use a model that was heavily trained on a specific artist's protected work, and your output closely resembles that style, the legal liability for infringement could potentially fall on you, the end user, not just the tech company that built the model.
So, on a highly practical level, how does a solopreneur or small agency actually defend themselves against this? You're telling me I can run a business for $345 a month, but I can't hire a massive legal team to audit my daily workflows.
The primary defense strategy is rigorous documentation. You must maintain a granular audit trail of your creative process. Do not just save the final output file. Save your initial text prompts. Save the rough sketch you uploaded to UWizard. Keep a folder of the 6 different iterative versions you generated.
Document the specific manual changes you made in Photoshop or Figma.
Yes. If you ever face a copyright challenge, your ability to prove your sustained human direction over the tool is your only shield. And furthermore, before committing financial resources to a brand name or a logo, run a comprehensive manual trademark search or utilize a service that specializes in clearance. Do not trust the AI to clear it for you.
This friction between the incredible leverage of AI and the severe structural risks brings us to our final and frankly most profound topic. We read a deeply reflective narrative from solopreneur Justin Welsh. He perfectly articulates the underlying psychological state of operators right now.
There is immense excitement about the leverage, but sitting right next to it is a very real, creeping terror.
The terror is rooted in commoditization. Welsh points out that we are approaching a threshold where businesses realize they can acquire 80% of the quality of a human worker for 5% of the cost.
If the barrier to entry for writing a competent SEO article, generating a functional React component, or designing a clean interface drops to 0, then the raw technical skill or baseline knowledge you possess is no longer a premium sellable commodity.
You're competing against infinite near-free supply.
So the strategic imperative for survival is what Welsh defines as the human hedge. As technical execution becomes entirely commoditized by models, the financial premium violently shifts to the specific domains that algorithms cannot inhabit.
What does that actually look like in practice? Welsh specifically focuses on the power of authentic, high-friction, in-person relationships. He discusses his Unsubscribe community, which is a private network of high-level entrepreneurs. The value of that community isn't the exchange of tactical information.
Right. They can all ask Claude for a marketing strategy.
Exactly. The value is explicitly rooted in IRL and real-life connection. Sitting across a table from another operator, reading their body language, having an unstructured, unrecorded conversation, feeling the energy of the room.
That builds a density of trust that a language model cannot synthesize. Trust is the ultimate human hedge. When the internet is flooded with infinite AI-generated noise, consumers and businesses will retreat to the people they tangibly trust to filter that noise.
He also makes a brilliant point about the nature of intuition. An LLM operates by analyzing historical data and mathematically predicting the most statistically probable next token. It is, by definition, an engine of the average.
But high-level human intuition is forged by decades of nuanced, unquantifiable lived experience. The human edge is knowing when the statistical average is actually wrong.
It's knowing when to strategically break the established rules of your industry. It's understanding the complex, often irrational emotional subtext of a tense client negotiation and knowing exactly what to say to diffuse it. Algorithms optimize for efficiency. Humans optimize for meaning and relationship.
If we synthesize this entire landscape, from the ALM core monetization tiers to the epidemic sound creator data to Welsh's philosophy, the overarching directive for 2025 and 2026 is crystal clear. The operators who will build massive wealth and durable brands are not the ones who hand their entire operation over to autonomous agents.
They're the ones who use AI strictly as a creative and operational accelerator. You deploy the technology to obliterate the friction of volume. You let the stack handle the massive data enrichment, the baseline code generation, the catalog photography lighting, and the initial email drafting.
You utilize the $345 infrastructure to buy back your time.
And then you violently protect and invest that freed up time into high-leverage human activities. Strategic vision, deep empathy, storytelling, and actual unscalable conversations with your clients and your community.
You use the machine to amplify the things that make you human, rather than using it to simulate a human.
Exactly. We have mapped an incredible amount of territory today. We dissected the economics of the solopreneur revolution, where a single operator can compete with venture-backed teams using a highly orchestrated $345 monthly tech stack.
We walk through the specific API connections from Claude to Make to Clay.
We explored the deep profitability of highly niched service providers, from Tom's local SEO law firm dominance to Greg's audiobook direction. We examined the massive shift in e-commerce infrastructure, where unified commerce platforms are supported by rapid iteration tools like Uwizard, Framer, and Galaxy.ai.
We broke down the visual science of high-converting thumbnails and the vital role of audio in the multi-hyphenate creator economy.
We clearly marked the legal landmines of copyright and trademark infringement, and we anchored it all in the existential necessity of the human hedge.
It is a dense blueprint, but it's highly actionable. However, I want to leave you with a final, slightly provocative thought to consider as you build these systems.
Let's hear it.
We spent this entire deep dive analyzing how you, the operator, can use AI to build businesses, automate your outreach, generate massive amounts of content, and scale your marketing velocity. But we must consider the inverse reaction. What happens when the consumers themselves reach peak fatigue and begin using their own AI to filter us out?
The defensive algorithm.
Precisely. As the volume of highly personalized AI-generated marketing reaches a saturation point, consumers will deploy their own personal AI agents to manage their digital lives. They will tell their device, analyze the top 50 reviews for ergonomic office chairs, filter out any SEO-optimized affiliate spam, cross-reference the build quality data, and just give me the top 2 recommendations.
The consumer's AI will be the entity making the purchasing decision, reading the emails, and viewing the content.
Yes. So as an operator, building a brand today, the ultimate challenge you face tomorrow isn't just convincing a human that your product is valuable. How will you convince an autonomous, hyperlogical algorithm that your human touch is worth recommending to its owner?
The battle of the agents. That is an incredible paradigm shift to anticipate. Thank you for joining us on this incredibly expansive deep dive. The architectural blueprints are available, the unit economics are in your favor, and the execution window is wide open.
The only failure state is paralysis.
Choose one specific workflow or tool we deconstructed today, integrate it into your operations this week, and observe the leverage it provides. Build thoughtfully. Until next time.